as the Seahawks prepared to gather for the first time as a team Monday since the end of the 2018 season. Uncertainty continued to loom over two of their biggest name players, quarterback Russell Wilson and defensive lineman Frank Clark. Wilson set a deadline of Monday to sign a new contract with the Seahawks, and while there were reports over the weekend that the two sides had ramped up negotiations, as of Sunday night it was not clear if anything was imminent. As for Clark, he has yet to sign his franchise tag for the 2019 season, and the Seahawks are known exploring all options, including listening to trade offers. Sunday night, Pro Football Talk reported via Twitter that there was some chatter on the league grapevine tonight about a possible Frank Clark trade, but as of early Sunday evening, there were no definitive reports of a trade. Clark is unlikely to be in attendance Monday when the Seahawks begin their official off-season workout program, sessions that are voluntary. Wilson, though, will be present, a source confirmed to the Seattle Times, whether or not he has a new contract. NFL rules allow for teams to hold a 9-week workout program beginning with Phase 1, which is 2 weeks of activities limited to strength and conditioning and physical rehabilitation. Phases 2 and 3 include on-field drills that include organized team activities and then a mandatory mini-camp. Because all but the mini-camp is officially voluntary, veterans often skip some of it, and some players in the past have sat out almost all of it, such as Marshawn Lynch and Michael Bennett. Clark did last year, citing several reasons, though among them was that he was entering the final year of his contract and was hoping for an extension. Clark still doesn't have one, though the Seahawks prevented him from becoming a free agent by slapping him with the franchise tag, which would pay him a fully guaranteed salary of $17.1 million for the 2019 season. When Clark was tagged, the assumption was that it assured he would be with the Seahawks in 2019, an assumption that coach Pete Carroll seemed to indicate was valid at the NFL league meetings last month, when he said the team was negotiating with Clark on a long-term deal. This time of year, in his situation, there's all kinds of speculation. Carroll said in late March, "We'll see what happens. Not worried about Frank at all. Frank had a fantastic season. We're thrilled to have him coming back. We're going to make the most of it." Clark, though, has not signed the tag, and there have been reports that he does not intend to sign it and will hold out of camp in hopes of getting a long-term deal. Teams can negotiate with tagged players until July 15th. After that time, tagged players can play only under the terms of the tag, with no more negotiations allowed until after the season. Kansas City traded defensive end Dee Ford to the 49ers shortly after tagging him, rather than signing him to a long-term contract, and from almost the minute Clark was tagged there have been rumors that other teams would feel out the Seahawks about Clark for as long as his future remained uncertain. Clark turns the 26th of June 14 and is coming off his best NFL season with 13 sacks in 2018. He has 32 sacks in the last 3 seasons, 10th most in the NFL, and is likely to want a contract similar, if not surpassing, the one signed on April 6 by Dallas DeMarcus Lawrence, a 5-year deal averaging $21 million with $48 million fully guaranteed. Those terms, which would mean paying Clark roughly $4 million more than the 2019 tag number, would make Clark the highest-paid defensive player on the Seahawks, and second overall only to Wilson. That might be tough for Seattle to swallow, especially with apparently still working on getting a deal done with Wilson, as well as knowing that middle linebacker Bobby Wagner and defensive tackle Jarran Reed are also entering the last seasons of their contracts. Some observers wondered Sunday night after PFT's report on Clark if that meant the Seahawks are closer to a deal with Wilson, the idea being they have decided not to re-sign Clark to free up money for Wilson. Seattle also may just be reluctant to give Clark a contract that realistically would likely have to make him the third highest-paid defensive player in the NFL after only Khalil Mack of the Bears and Aaron Donald of the Rams. Seattle has ample cap space in seasons 2020 and beyond. But that's due in part to not having many of its key players under contract for significant periods of time. At the moment, Seattle has only 3 players not on standard rookie deals under contract beyond the 2020 season: left tackle Dwayne Brown, receiver Tyler Lockett, and kicker Jason Myers. Whether Seattle has just been saving up to pay the likes of Wilson, Clark, Wagner and Reed, or maybe playing it a little more cautiously in the wake of the roster turnover a year ago, remains in question. Of the few reports that surfaced that talks between Wilson and the Seahawks were heating up, the most definitive came from Jake Heaps, who was on the Seattle practice squad and off-season roster as a backup to Wilson for parts of 2 seasons and now helps run Wilson's youth quarterback academy. Heaps tweeted late Saturday afternoon that Wilson's agent, Mark Rodgers, and Seahawks general manager John Schneider have been meeting for several hours the past couple days, and, hopefully there'll be great news for all Seahawks fans. If they can lock up Wilson, and that, time will tell. There were no further reports as of Sunday evening of any progress, however, though there continued to be rumors about his future. Safety Tyrann Mathieu of the Kansas City Chiefs fueled one late Saturday night by responding to a tweet by Pro Football Talk stating, "Russ wants New York. You ain't heard that from T." In the story that Mathieu was responding to, PFT stated that, per a league source, the Seahawks think that Wilson would like to play elsewhere, even if he hasn't and wouldn't ever say it. They also believe that this unspoken dynamic will cause Wilson to drive a harder bargain with them than he would with another team. Wilson set Monday as a deadline to get a new contract since it is the beginning of the off-season workout program. Wilson has thought to not want to deal with the distraction of negotiations during any part of the season, and if an agreement is not reached now will wait until after the year to talk again with the Seahawks, though it's uncertain how set in stone its stance would be. But while Wilson set a deadline, the Seahawks don't necessarily have to abide by it, knowing that Wilson is under contract for the 2019 season and can use the franchise tags in 2020 and 2021 for what would be expensive contracts, but deals it could handle reasonably enough to keep him in place, if needed.